Fall in Central Texas means two things. Number one, cooler temperatures. Number two, ragweed. And if you're an allergy sufferer like me, that means a lot of misery and a lot of sinus problems. Tonight's dinner is chicken tikka masala. It's an Indian dish and it is wonderful. To go along with that, I'll be making homemade naan. Hi, thanks for joining me today on Susan's Cozy Kitchen. So let's get started with our chicken tikka masala. First thing, I have a tablespoon of vegetable oil inside, just getting ready to start frying my chicken in batches. About the chicken, a couple of hours ago I pulled some chicken breasts out of the freezer, thawed them partially, cut them into bite-sized pieces, and then I poured about a half to maybe 2/3 of a cup of buttermilk over them, sprinkled in about a half teaspoon of curry powder to help to flavor and tenderize the chicken. If this will ever get hot, why is it didn't come on? Oh shucks. Pro tip, if you want your hot plate to get hot, plug it in first. With the chicken. I'll put a couple of scoops of chicken in. Wow, you can really smell the curry once it's down there in the heat. If you love curry, you'll love tikka masala. Alright, the chicken's in there. I'm going to put the lid on and just let it start cooking. It's on medium heat. Okay, I don't see any more pink in the meat, so I'm just going to move this into this bowl and finish cooking the rest. The chicken is here. I'm going to just cover it with some foil, keep it warm, and just set it off to the side until it's ready to go into the sauce. So it's 2 tablespoons of butter. Okay, the butter's melted. Now I have about half of a white onion that I just cut up into small pieces. Go ahead and have all your spices put together in a bowl so that when it's time to add them after the garlic, you can just dump them all in at once. And if you're standing here trying to measure out, by the time you get to the last one, your first spices are going to be starting to burn because they're down on the bottom. You're piling all this other stuff on top of it. So if you already have everything measured out, then when it's time to put it in, you just give it a dump. It's all in there. You don't have burned spices in your tikka masala. And the onion looks good. Now I'm going to add the garlic. I did not dice my own cloves of garlic. I used the jarred stuff. Now that has been cooking for about a minute. So let me give you the exact ingredients. 2 tablespoons cumin, a teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of ginger, an 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne, just because we don't want the heat, we want flavor. So I kept it a very small amount of cayenne, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and a half teaspoon of turmeric. And now I'm just going to shake it across, stir it in. And you want to let this cook together with everything for about 2 minutes so that everything gets really fragrant, all the oils are released. Time to add the tomato. Have an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, a 14-ounce can of fire roasted diced tomatoes. Okay. And now I'm going to add about a tablespoon of tomato paste just to give it a lot of good flavor. And then I'm going to mix in maybe half a cup of water to make sure that it has enough liquid in here. Just going to mix all that together. And I really like the depth of flavors that the fire roasted tomatoes and the tomato paste will bring to the sauce. Now I just need to bring this up to a boil, and I'll turn it down and let it simmer. All right, it's already up to a boil. Turning it down to low, and then I'll just give it a stir along and let it simmer for 10 minutes. I realized that part of the reason you bring it to a boil and then let it simmer is because you're wanting to thicken the sauce, and by keeping the lid on, even though it keeps the heat in and it helps it to come to a boil faster and to simmer better, it doesn't let it cook down because it's trapping all the steam in there. It's dripping back down into the sauce. So I took the lid off, and now I'm letting it cook open. Okay, the sauce has been simmering for 10 minutes now. It's time to move on. This is 8 ounces of heavy whipping cream and about an equal amount of coconut milk. So I'm going to add that. And now I'm going to add a tablespoon of sugar with 4 teaspoons of paprika. Just mix all of that in. That was cold from the refrigerator, so now I need to bring this back up to a simmer and just let it simmer until it starts to thicken. While it's simmering and thickening, you want to stir it every now and then just to make sure that the onion and garlic and spices aren't settling to the bottom and burning and sticking. I forgot to mention earlier, chicken tikka masala is also keto friendly. All you have to do is swap out monk fruits for the sugar on a 1-to-1 ratio, and just make sure that you buy the no sugar added tomato sauces, and boom, you have a keto tikka masala. It's simmered for 15 minutes, it's starting to thicken, and it's time to add the chicken back in. Very gently let it scoot in there. Stir it all together. And now you want to let this cook for about 30 minutes. Just like when you're simmering the sauce, you want to give this a stir every so often to make sure the chicken's not settling to the bottom and sticking and burning. Alright, it's been 30 minutes. The sauce is cooked down, it's thick. Let's give it a taste test to make sure I don't need to adjust the seasonings. A little piece of chicken, a lot of sauce. Wow. Okay, so the chicken, extremely tender. I highly recommend marinating it with a little bit of buttermilk for an hour or two before you cook it. The sauce is just this bouquet of flavor that just explodes in your mouth a bit at a time. Flavors have just blended and melded, and you get just this layers of flavor, and the last one is just that little bitty tiny tinge of heat from the 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne that I did put in here. As you eat it, just savor it, take it nice and slow, and enjoy all the different levels of flavor that are in there. That's my that's my lecture today on spices and flavoring. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. While you're there, if you haven't already, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you find out every time I upload a video to YouTube. Thank you. God bless.